The Avengers lineup has changed time and again over the years, and the current lineup in 2022 is far from clear-cut. We have the Young Avengers, the Dark Avengers, the original Avengers, but who is the strongest of them all? I've put together my own arbitrary rules to rank the 10 strongest Avengers from the MCU. I've kept it to those that are currently active, because otherwise this list would still be ongoing in 21-22. Please feel free to fight me about my choices in the comments. Number 10. Captain America. Unlike many Avengers, Sam Wilson has one special trait: actual training. Having served in the US military and then in the Avengers under Steve Rogers, Sam has actually worked his way through the ranks and proven himself time and time again. What's perhaps most impressive is that he has no special powers, no serum, no magical help. It's Sam, his wings, his strength, and his smarts. That's my Captain America. Number 9. Shang-Chi. Trained as a world-class assassin since childhood, Shang-Chi is incredibly skilled at martial arts. Not only does he have the raw aggression of his father, his aunt has also trained him in the defensive strategy of his mother's people. Now with the 10 rings in his back pocket, he has the mythical powers to back up his tactical mind and ass-kicking moves. Number 8. She-Hulk. To be clear, I am not judging Jennifer Walters' strength on her courtroom skills. Despite adamantly saying she's not an Avenger, She-Hulk is still facing down baddies like Titania and fighting the good fight. During Jen's fight with her cousin Bruce Banner at his lab in Mexico, Jen seems pretty fairly matched with him, perhaps even outranking him. I've placed her below Banner here simply because she doesn't have the desire to fight. Every battle she's been in has been forced, and if she doesn't have a stomach for battle, I have to see that as a weakness for an Avenger. Number 7. Ant-Man. On its surface, the ability to shrink and expand isn't all that threatening, especially when compared to the abilities of ancient gods and otherworldly aliens. But when taking into account the quantum abilities that come with the Ant-Man suit, the stronger Scott Lang's, Paul Rudd, case becomes. Similar to Doctor Strange, don't worry, we'll get to him later, Ant-Man's powers simply exist in a different realm than that of Iron Man, Captain America, Spider-Man, and even the likes of Thor and Captain Marvel, and also within fan culture, subconsciously or otherwise, as a common joke in the lead-up to Avengers, Infinity War was why doesn't Ant-Man just crawl inside Thanos and, well, expand? What this indicates is that, despite his significant physical strength, there are certain realms and power sets that the more combat-based beings simply can't compete with. It's the reason why they aren't sending Bruce Banner to deal with a newly robed Wanda Maximoff. That is the core nature of the argument for Ant-Man, whether it's being too big or too small, messing with quantum physics or the quantum realm. The scientific dynamic of Ant-Man's skills is far too complex of a problem for most Avengers to solve. This technology, after all, was the key component in the Avengers being able to undo Thanos' snap, if that same technology was applied in a weaponized manner instead of a scientific one, which we'll certainly learn more about when he takes on Kong the Conqueror in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. There's no telling what the limits of Ant-Man's time-traveling abilities are. In the same way that Doctor Strange is the key to combating the mystical and multiversal threats set to rain down upon the MCU, Ant-Man will likely be key in their stand against Kong, not only making him one of the most powerful, but one of the most important. Number 6. Hulk. With Thor seemingly elsewhere in the galaxy, Hawkeye and Hulk could very well be the last men standing in terms of the original group of Avengers that defended Earth against Loki by this time next year. And a lot, including Hulk standing within the MCU's power scale, has changed since then. Back in 2012's The Avengers, Hulk is positioned as the ace in the hole against Loki's cosmic army. Now, given the arrival of various ancient, mystical, or outer space-hailing beings and technologies into the MCU, Hulk's brand of smash-em-up offensive is nothing more than a hammer in a world that now requires the superhero equivalent of a crane. The entire scale of the war the Avengers are waging has changed, and as a result, Hulk's status as one of the most powerful has slipped. Wanda Maximoff was able to not only nullify Hulk but weaponize him in Avengers: Age of Ultron, and she had barely even begun to scratch the surface of her witchcraft ways. Nevertheless, despite his diminished reputation within the context of his peers, Hulk still remains one of the most dangerous beings in the MCU, as evidenced by his ability to fight with the likes of Thor while also think with the likes of Tony Stark. And, of course, on top of all of that, he is a genius scientist, and his inventions and brainpower add to the assets that he has in his arsenal. Hopefully this will allow him to help his cousin, Jennifer Walters, Tatiana Maslany, when she becomes a Hulk herself in She-Hulk. Number 5. Thor Odinson. Before Thor, Love and Thunder, Thor had everything on his side: God's strength, lightning powers, and centuries of battle training. Now he's got one extra power: Dad's strength. Seriously, though, there are very few people who can hold their own with Thor. He has a Thanos-killing weapon and enough raw power to level armies single-handedly. As Avengers go, he's one of the very best. Number 4. Doctor Strange. While ranking the Sorcerer Supreme above both Captain Marvel and Thor may cause some to double-take, the Marvel Cinematic Universe itself has already given an example of how helpless the brute of Thor's strength is when leveled against the more magical, mental elements of Doctor Strange's skill set when the pair briefly cross paths in Thor: Ragnarok. Granted, while Thor isn't engaged in combat whatsoever, Doctor Strange is in such utter control of the situation, and Loki, for that matter, as he sent him to the purgatory of endless freefall, that you wonder what Thor would even be able to do about it if he did decide to take Strange on. No amount of lightning bolts or hammer swings could defeat a being like Dormammu, let alone the man who outsmarted it. After Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, we clearly learned that Strange is not only powerful but a threat to multiple universes, making him more powerful than even Thanos, with the ability to destroy universes, dreamwalk, and even inhabit dead bodies. Number 3. Spider-Man. This might be a controversial one, but hear me out. Spider-Man: No Way Home saw Peter Parker in a whole new dimension, the mirror dimension. He was able to use his mathematical skills to outwit Doctor Strange, a sorcerer who put Norse gods in their place, keeping him trapped there for most of the film. In my book, being able to best someone makes you automatically stronger than them, and I make the rules on this list. Spider-Man's strength is often underestimated as well. He catches serum-powered Bucky's vibranium arm with barely a wince and a quip at the age of just 16. As we move into an era of an older Spider-Man with Tom Holland, on his own in New York City, I'm keen to see how this raw strength and intelligence matures. Number 2. Captain Marvel. Even if Carol Danvers isn't around much, it's her who turns the tide of battle in Avengers: Endgame. She holds her own with Thanos in hand-to-hand combat for longer than Thor, Iron Man, or Steve Rogers, and takes down his enormous warship single-handedly. Danvers is also trained by both human and Kree military, making her a skilled tactician capable of defending several planets across the universe, if her hints at where she's been since the 90s are anything to go by. Plus, she did all of this while being crushed by the weight of sexist Marvel fans. Killing it. Number 1. Scarlet Witch. Even before Wanda Maximoff accessed her full powers as the Scarlet Witch in the finale of WandaVision and then entered her villain era in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, she was the only Avenger capable of holding her own with Thanos. She literally began to rip him apart with her magic in Avengers: Endgame, and then went toe-to-toe with the best of Wong's magicians in Multiverse of Madness. It was only the emotional impact of her children that finally made her stop. Basically, the only person who can stop Wanda is Wanda herself. Enough said, she's at the top of this list.